I'm sorry I'm full of whimsy and joy. Hi, it has been a while. So listen, I've been back from Copenhagen for I think 2 weeks now, perhaps. I don't time isn't real, it doesn't matter. Point being, I've been back for no, it's close. It's been like almost a month that I've been back. It doesn't matter. Anyway, hi, we're here now, and that's the point. I went to Copenhagen and I also went to Amsterdam and also Sweden briefly. I don't know how to start this video. I went to a shit ton of yarn stores, as one does when in Rome. When in Copenhagen. I'm sorry. I have not done this in a while. I'm really feeling it. I was abroad. And I bought a bunch of yarn. And so I wanted to tell you guys about the yarn stores I went to in Copenhagen and one in Amsterdam, and then show you guys the yarn that I did end up bringing home with me in a very fun. So I bought these vacuum seal bags before I left, and it was major. If you're going on a trip and you know you will be buying a fair amount of yarn, I highly recommend getting these vacuum seal bags because they saved my life. And then my best friend who I was on the trip with, she devised a plan to turn them into yarn bricks. I'll put pictures here. I can't imagine the TSA agent that scanned our bag and saw just bricks of yarn. I would be shocked if our bag didn't get searched. They have to tell you if they do that. It doesn't matter. Anyway, point being, I came home with a lot of yarn. And I will say, in my defense, yarn is like significantly cheaper in Europe, okay? Like one skein of Sandisgarn Peer Gynt was like, with conversions, like $4.50-ish USD. And here in Washington, one ball of Peer Gynt is around $9 usually. So it's like almost 50%. I can't do math, okay? But point being, I would have been losing money. It just made sense. Came home with a lot of yarn. That was a long-winded... Oh, guys, by the way, hi, I'm Maddie, and if you didn't notice, we're doing a little rebranding around here. We are gonna pour one out for That's What Skeen Said. I will grieve her every day. I thought it was hilarious. Turns out I was like Venn diagram of knitters and people that frequently use That's What She Said jokes. There's like a very small amount of overlap there, like maybe me and like 10 other people. So it was a very self-serving username, like it made me giggle, but I fear every single time I had to tell it to somebody else, they were like, I'm so sorry, what? The kicker for me, like what really set me on the path of rebranding, I was visiting a girl I used to babysit when she was like 2 and 3 years old, and she's now 11, I think. And she was asking about my YouTube, which is adorable. And I had to look at this precious little angel child that I've known since she was born and tell her my YouTube was called That's What Skeen Said. And I realized like that's not gonna stop because I work in childcare, and like some of my older kids are getting to be about the age where they are interested in YouTube, and it's like, oh shit. And then that's the other thing is I need to stop swearing, but that's proving to be difficult. So point being, we had to make a change so that I no longer had to live with the consequences of my own actions. So we have decided, I've been batting this around for a long time, guys, and my 2 top contenders were Naptime Knitter, because I'm currently a nanny, and what we ended up going with, which is Buy a Thread. So Buy a Thread Knits, hello, that's now me. Still me, just with a more, I would call it less embarrassing username, perhaps. It was, like, there was an element of shame there, for sure. Anytime I told somebody my username, I was like, that's what Skeen said. It'll be nice to not feel shame. I think it was time for a change. So Buy a Thread Knits, the gag there is because I'm hanging on by a thread, but thank you. So no, but quite literally I am just like, that's my baseline, is hanging on by a thread. I said it one day and I was like, wait, could that be a rebrand? And we're making it happen. So you're catching me mid rebrand. So right now I'm still gonna have my That's What Skeen Said animation for my opening, but my amazingly talented friend Taylor, who has a degree in graphic design, I commissioned Taylor to make me a new animation because I simply don't have it in me to do that again. That took years off my life. So my amazingly talented friend Taylor, username here, is going to be making our new intro animation as well as a logo. So everybody say thank you, Taylor. Thank you. I'm really excited about it. I feel like it's going to be... I just felt like that's what Skeet said was just kind of hindering me a little bit too. Like the SEO on that was non-existent. And I went from like, because if you've been here for a long time, you remember when we were Stitch and Bitch, which also was funny, but that was like getting me 0 views ever. And then I switched to That's What Skeen Said, and things started picking up. And then it's kind of plateaued recently, like just in terms of my growth. And so I was like, I hate to say it, but it could be the That's What She Said joke in thin disguise. So point being, hi, here we are. It's still me. Thank you for bearing with me as we make these changes, and I am excited to see where we go from here, guys. And yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for sticking around. So back to Copenhagen, right? It was amazing. I had so much fun, and it was my first time ever leaving America. Have never really traveled that much. I've been to a few different states, but that's very much so it. So like I got my first passport last year, and like I left the country for the first time, and it was like so crazy to just be on the other side of the globe. And like the flights kicked my ass. The way back actually really messed me up, more so than the way there, which is weird because they usually say it's the other way around, but coming home, I was messed up for like a week. Going there, I just stayed up for over 24 hours, and then I slept for like 12, and then I was fine. But the way back, it just really, I was like not okay. So that was concerning. But I had a great time. It was really cool to be in a city that had so much history. Like American cities are so new relatively to other cities in the world. So that was really amazing. And one of my best friends lives in Copenhagen. She's Danish. And so my other best friend and I both live in Seattle, and we flew on over. And it was just so much fun to see my friend and be on this trip with my other best friend, and like just having such a great time. And while we're talking about best friend, hi Paisley. Her name is Paisley. I know. She's so cute. She like planned the entire thing because I was dead weight. Planned the entire thing, and not only that, sat in yarn stores for hours on end on this trip. So thank you very much. I couldn't have done it without you. Quite literally. And also thank you for putting up with the yarn shopping, and also thank you for packing the yarn. I'm gonna make her a Sophie scarf, guys, don't worry. She needs a knit at this point. She's earned it big time. So yeah, that's enough preamble. I think like 10 minutes of intro nonsense. So let's get started talking about the actual yarn stores. And I'm gonna get ahead of this and just say I don't know how to pronounce these things. I do not speak Danish, and I'm really sorry about it. So the first store we went to was, so I'm gonna do this in like a loose chronological order, but also not. Yeah, so our first store was Oldstedet. Sorry. So this one had a really nice selection, I will say, for how small the store was. What did I get here? Their prices were good. Actually, we're gonna do the haul at the end. I'm sorry. I'm gonna make you wait for it. Yeah, it was like a slightly smaller store of the ones we visited. I did pick up 2 skeins from this store, and yeah, the prices were really good. I did notice that they had some really cute boucle that I kind of wanted to get, and I wish I would have gone back for. Get a picture of it, but yeah, I liked this one. It wasn't like groundbreaking to me personally, but they had a solid selection and some really cool samples, I will say. Okay, next up, this was the Mecca. Like, this was when I got to Copenhagen. I was like, take me to Knitting for Olive. Let's go. It was so beautiful in that store. It was kind of confusing because like one side of the store is just like their fulfillment center, so like where they ship from. Then the other side is the actual storefront. We tried to go in the wrong side at first and then figured it out, went into the right side. Beside the point. So it's a little bit smaller than what you might think looking at the whole like Knitting for Olive thing. It's like half of the size, if that makes any sense at all. It was all Knitting for Olive yarn, obviously, but they had every single Knitting for Olive yarn. It was like a really beautiful store space, and there were some employees knitting on some swatches and stuff while we were there, and that was really fun to see. And just like all of the samples that you've seen pictures of online or in the shop, and it was like, I felt like I was seeing like famous people. I was like, oh my god. There's the anemone sweater. So that was funny for me. One little thing to know, if you are a shorter person, I am 5'1.5". The half is very important to me. If you're a shorter person, I did have trouble seeing all the colors because the yarn is on these shelves that are they kind of start at like chest height and then go up, and they have all of the colors, but it's like rows. So they have one row and then kind of staggered back is another row of colors. I couldn't see the second row. So I was looking for a particular yarn, a particular shade of gray, and I thought all they had was what I could see up front. Not the case. My taller friends were like, you know, there's more colors, right? And I was like, no, I didn't. Thank you for that. So we figured it out, but that's just something to be aware of if you are a person that is shorter. And it makes sense because everybody in Denmark is like tall and beautiful. It makes sense. Yeah, the staff was very helpful. Yeah, I got what I needed. And then I'll show you that this was special to me. I've been wanting a pair of stork scissors for a very long time now. If you don't know the lore of the stork scissor, give it a goog, but it's just kind of like an iconic thing in the fiber arts community. And I didn't have a pair, and I really wanted to find like the perfect pair of stork scissors on this trip, and I found them at Knitting for Olive. They're like gold, and then the beak is silver, which I thought was really special, and I just love them. They have like a good heft to them. They're nice and sharp. I got these back through TSA because they were in a checked bag. Keep that in mind if you are traveling without a checked bag. Don't buy scissors. Only way I got them home. But yeah, so that was something I really wanted to get on this trip, and I was really happy to get it at Knitting for Olive. I think it's a nice little memento of how excited I was to go to that store. Okay, next up we have Ronstrick, possibly. They had a great selection. One of the bigger yarn stores. They had a lot of like petite knit notions and patterns. I got a zipper there for something, a petite knit zipper. They had like wall to wall, floor to ceiling is what I meant, yarn. It was crazy. They also had the best sale section I saw by far. It was incredible. I went to this one twice actually on accident. But the first time I went, they had like buckets and buckets of Sandisgarn on sale. So I picked up a few of those, which you will see later. It was amazing. I loved it. The vibe in there was really nice. Yeah, they had good chairs for my long-suffering friend to sit on. And yeah, I liked this one. I would go back. Oh, I like this one. Next up, we have Tante Gorn, Copenhagen. Sorry. This one had like a really cute little like mom and pop vibe. I think I met the owner, and I think it's like a husband-wife duo type thing. Don't quote me on this. That's the vibe I was getting. I was assessing the vibe while I was there. And yeah, it was a really small store and a little bit claustrophobic at times when it was more crowded. But they were super nice, and they gave me a student discount even though I was a student in America, which was super nice and generous of them. And yeah, they had a really good selection for having such a small store. And oh, I have to go get it for you. This was the other silly little knitting related thing I really wanted to get on this trip. This is a clip, like a hair. I saw Petite Knit wearing this clip once, and I couldn't get it out of my head ever since I saw that picture of her wearing this clip, and I desperately wanted to find it. And I found it at this yarn store, and I was like, is that the Petite Knit clip? And the shop lady, she knew what I was talking about. And I was like, give it to me. Show it to me, Rachel. But yeah, so I bought that, and I'm very happy about it. I wore the shit out of it for the rest of my trip. It's in like every single picture I have. So I think that's a testament. It's like a really well-made clip. It was expensive. This little clip was pricey, but cost per wear on this bad boy already basically nothing. So worth it, in my opinion. I fear, like, obviously, don't want to be negative. These are just my opinions. Next up, we're going to talk about Woolstock. And I will say I was a little bit disappointed, okay? And I'm gonna bookend that by saying the staff were incredibly nice, and I thought the concept of the store was brilliant. It's like a cafe and a yarn store in one. When I went, we had just had lunch, so we didn't get any like food or drink or anything. We were just there for the yarn. And the store was beautiful. Like, it had like a lofted space for eating your little pastries and having your coffee or tea or whatever. And then the bottom area was for yarn. The selection kind of disappointed me. I felt like they didn't really have a lot of the type of yarns I like to use. I don't know, like, I tend to gravitate towards like mostly just wool, honestly. Wool and mohair kind of are my two main yarns, I would say. And I felt like it was a lot more like, I don't know really. It was just something about the yarn they carried that wasn't really suiting my needs personally, but that's going to be different for everybody. So don't let my not being able to find anything there stop you from checking it out if you're in Copenhagen, because it was a really fun store. I will also say I really liked that they had the leftover skeins from their samples. They were selling the leftover skeins from when they make their samples in the store, which I thought was brilliant. And I have told my friend that works for a yarn store that they need to incorporate that because I think it's genius. Imagine how easy it would be to do scrappy projects if you had just like bins. Another one did this. I think it was Brunsstrick, I think also did this, and I just thought it was brilliant. So yeah, do with that information what you will. Okay, next up we have Sommerflugen. I'm so sorry. Yeah, this was a yarn store that also had like embroidery supplies as well. Like they had a pretty big selection of embroidery supplies. So I will say about this one, not great selection here as well. They had like a lot of knitting for Olive and stuff, but like I got a knitting for Olive, so I was like, I'm gonna get knitting for Olive. I'm just gonna go knitting for Olive. Anyway, I was a lot also more like luxury fiber focused. Like the one skein I was thinking about getting was, I think just like it was just silk and maybe cashmere, and so it was expensive, which is why I was like, I'm not gonna get it, so I didn't. But yeah, the shop was really pretty and they had some cool samples, so it was still cool. I'm a little bit scared to talk about this one. I mentioned that I also went to Amsterdam for a few days. This trip was weird because we originally planned it to be a week in Copenhagen, and then we were going to spend 2 weeks going to other locations around Europe via Eurorail. Eurorail sucks. Eurorail and we are not friends. Don't get that twisted. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare, basically. And we got just absolutely screwed over by Eurorail. So that was brutal. So basically, we had to cut our trip down to 3 destinations. So we ended up only going to Copenhagen, Amsterdam, and we did a day trip to Sweden. So that was it. Originally, it was supposed to be a much longer trip. We also like went home early too because a lot of other stuff happened. It was like anything that could have gone wrong on this trip did go wrong, but I still had a great time. You know, like I was sad not to get to go to the other places. We were supposed to go to Paris, Nice, and Florence as well, and we had to cut all 3 of those out and just go back to Copenhagen for another 5 days or so. I was sad not to get to go to those places, of course, but it was still like, as far as things go, I was still in Europe and like still with my best friend and still like gallivanting through Europe. Like I can't complain about that, and I still had an amazing time. So basically, yeah, that's just if you're curious about my trip, because I think I told you guys at one point all of the locations I was going to. Yeah, didn't happen. There were also like a lot of strikes on the Eurorail tracks, especially towards Italy. While we were there, we were getting a lot of notifications like, ooh, trains are actually not running. So that's around the time we were just like, we're gonna cut our losses here. Point being, we went to Amsterdam. It was a very long-winded way of telling you I went to Amsterdam. It was awesome. Amsterdam rocks. I vibe with Copenhagen a little bit more, just as like the vibes. Copenhagen's a lot more like family centered, like it's a lot calmer, I felt. And I don't know, it also could just be because I have my other really good friend there, so I perhaps just have a different perspective on Copenhagen. But Amsterdam was a lot more like high energy, a little bit intense, a little bit busy, just slightly more anxiety inducing. As somebody that's already prone to a lot of anxiety, I felt a lot calmer in Copenhagen than I did in Amsterdam. But I still had an amazing time, and it was still beautiful and amazing to see. And like, I do want to go back, but just if you were curious. Anyway, I think I'm avoiding this topic because I'm a little bit afraid. I went to Stephen and Penelope. I respect Stephen West. I would like that stated on the record. I respect Stephen West, okay? I am not, this is simply my opinion, okay? I didn't buy anything. Actually, that is a lie. I bought one thing from Stephen and Penelope, and that is this really sick knitting poster. This is what I got from Stephen and Penelope. Quick side note, this wall up here, this is gonna be a gallery wall pretty soon. So watch this space. This will be like in that situation. So hold on for that, beside the point. That was all I bought from Stephen and Penelope, and I really thought I was gonna get a lot more because from like my preliminary research, I really rocked with some of the colors I was seeing. And I will say, in real life, IRL, if you must, the colors weren't really hitting the same way. And I don't know what it was about them that wasn't like quite translating in the same way for me when I was seeing them in real life. It just wasn't hitting the same. And then the thing that really, 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 really bothered me about West wool was the ply. It's like a very defined 2-ply situation. And I have found when I've tried to use a yarn like that before that it really gives me some weird looking stitches, and I don't rock with that. So I didn't love it, and I'm really sorry to say it because I'm scared. Honestly, I'm a little bit afraid to have this take. Please be nice to me or I will cry. It just like, I know I really, really, really tried to find yarn. Like I was trying to find yarn that I wanted there, and I just couldn't. We spent like an hour there. God, my poor friend. we spent so long there, and I just couldn't find any yarn that I wanted. It was so bizarre to me. That is my take, and I respect Stephen West. Thank you so much for not being mean to me. So on that note, let's shift over to my two favorites. So first of all, we have Garn Calicet. This yarn store has like the nicest owner of all time. She was the one working when I was there, and she was just like so excited to talk to me about knitting, which I always love, and like she was just so helpful, and she had so many amazing samples, and she was so excited to tell me about all of them and help me. I wanted to recreate one, and she was so excited to help me find the yarn that I wanted, and just like she was so helpful and so nice, and I really loved the vibe in that store. I thought they had a really good selection of yarn I had never seen before. Excellent samples. Really just super enjoyed my experience shopping at this store, and I would highly recommend you go check it out and say hi because the owner is just lovely. And then my other favorite was Nicoline Garn. So we went there twice and I dropped a bag both times, and I bought the most yarn by far from Nicoline Garn. They have the full range of Drops yarn, which I haven't seen anything other than Drops Kid Silk Mohair in real life. So that was really exciting to me as somebody that can't always drop $30 on a skein. Like, it was just super nice to see all of the more affordable options that are still like high quality fibers right there. And then they also have like the full range of Sandus Garn there. So those are like two of my like heavy hitters for commercial yarn. And boy, did I go off. I've got projects locked and loaded for the winter. We are set for the winter. We're going to make it through the winter. So that's nice. Yeah, I felt as though when I was walking up to check out with just baskets upon baskets full of yarn, the employees did laugh at me. And it was a little bit like, are you laughing with me or are you laughing at me? You know? Either way, I don't care because crazy good selection. They were very nice. Like, don't get me wrong, they were nice. I think it was just an obscene amount of yarn for this stupid little American to be walking up and buying. So I get it. I was laughing as well. So it wasn't like they weren't like being rude or anything. It was just, something to think about. If you're going to be purchasing like that much yarn, you will look like an American stereotype. So know that going into it and you'll be fine. It was such a good selection, and I was very happy with my purchases there. What an excellent segue into my purchases, guys. So, I don't even know where to begin because like it's just, I haven't unpacked it because I've been waiting to make this video. So there's just stupid amounts of yarn all around my apartment. Again, I feel like everybody in my life needs some sort of medal for being so nice about my yarn and knitting habits. My poor boyfriend has been walking around this pile of yarn for a month. Oh god, okay. So first up we have Make It Tweed, which if you haven't seen this before, it's basically like a little strand of tweediness that you hold with another yarn, and it makes that yarn look tweedy. And I love a colorful tweed, okay? And so I got this, and I was very excited about it. And so I bought two, just to be safe. I tried to find this in America at one point. Nobody sells it. And shipping is crazy sometimes. So I was very excited to get this. And I'm very excited. Yeah. I'm very excited to use this at some point. I was thinking maybe I'll use it to make that Ozetta shacket. I really like that one. And I really want a tweedy. Super sorry I just did that. I really want like a tweedy shacket situation. That might be in this yarn's future. We'll see. But yeah, love it. It was an excellent start. That was one of the first yarns I picked up. We're just going to go bag by bag here. I grabbed some Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk. I will say I'm not the biggest fan of Drops Kid Silk Mohair just because it sheds so much. But for an affordable silk mohair, it is still really good. This was just like even softer, and I felt like would shed maybe a little bit less. I don't know. There's like less yarn per ball, so I had to get more than I would have if I had gotten Kid Silk Mohair, but I just thought this might be a slightly more pleasant experience. So I got this in the color 1. And yeah, I do have a plan for this. I'm thinking I'm going to podcast, like do a standard podcast soon and talk to you guys about my upcoming plans. Yeah, we won't get too deep into it, but yeah, classic alpaca mohair, love it. Okay, this was my Knitting for Olive purchase. This is the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the colorway Dark Moose. For this bad boy, I am going to be making the cardigan number 9, I think, with, let me just show you. I'll show you this one because I'm feeling generous. Okay, cardigan number 9 in this gray. And you know what, now that I'm really looking at this color match in the light, I don't think it's super spot on, but like, because I didn't have this yarn with me in Copenhagen. So I was just like flying blind. I was like, it's a dark gray, and this was as close as I could get. But now that I'm really looking at it, it's not quite, yeah, this is an upsetting thing to figure out on camera. Shit. It's not that bad. It's just, I'll swatch it and see. That was that plan that might now be ruined, but this was going to be a cardigan number 9. If not, I'll find another use for it. It's a really pretty gray, so it's fine. Not a big deal. But I got like 6 skeins of this, so. Okay, next up we have Drops Alpaca Boucle. I'm very excited about this one. I also have a plan for this one. More on that later. Kind of into boucle right now. I hate to say it. I know it's going to be a bitch to knit with, but like, so cute. And this was so cheap. This was like $4 a ball for boucle, for an alpaca boucle. So this is color 0100. It's 80% alpaca, 15% wool, 5% polyamide. I cannot, oh my god, somebody please count how many balls of yarn I drop in this video because this is getting ridiculous. That's the boucle. I think I got 8 of those. Okay, next up we have Tin Peer Gynt, which is just like thin Peer Gynt, I believe, from Sandus Garn. This was on sale at that one yarn shop that I said had the really good sales. This was on sale for like $1 a ball. So I bought 4 of them because I was trying not to be greedy. And I really want to make a hat out of this because I think it was True Lane last year. She made a really cute emerald green hipster hat, I want to say. And it's been like living in my head rent free ever since then. And so I saw this on sale and I was like, it's a sign. So I got 4 of them. I think it's going to be enough. I don't know. Maybe I should have got more, but I didn't want to look greedy. It's a really pretty color. It's like a nice emeraldy green. It's obviously, it's Peer Gynt, just so it's really nice and like semi-rustic-y, but still soft. Love her. I also got this from that same store. This is the Lang Yarns sock yarn, basically. I, again, probably should have got 2 of these now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, you live and you learn. I wanted to make a pair of socks out of these, obviously. And I will be doing that at some point. Again, super cheap. Love it. Love to see it. Next up, we have Double Sunday Obs. This is in the color Almond, I believe. And this was from that same yarn store I got my Clippy from. And yeah, I'm excited. This is just for my stripe hype that I'm knitting the same colors as the sample. This was the last colors I needed. I think I got 8 of these, possibly. Don't quote me on that. I'm not going to take them all out to count them. I need to organize them. So yeah, this is for my stripe pipe, which I think I'll be casting on not after I finish the current projects I have going. I have plans immediately after that, and then I think after that, so like 3 projects from now is going to be stripe pipe. But yeah, got a good amount of Double Sunday. Next up, we have, I got 15 skeins of the brand new Petite Knit colorway of Peer Gynt. So this is her most recent launch in the color Matcha, which she used to make her Amy sweater, which I am using to make my Amy sweater. It's like that scene in Mean Girls where they're like, Regina George was wearing flip-flops, so I bought flip-flop. That's me with Petite Knit. I hate to say it, but it's true. It's a gorgeous color, though. I am obsessed with this color. So I got 15 skeins of this just to be safe for my Amy sweater. I'm loving it. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's stunning, and I think Petite Knit has done no wrong, so. Okay, next up, I had aforementioned best friend pick out some yarn for a Sophie scarf. She mentioned it at one of the shops we were in. She was like, I really like those little triangle scarves. And I was like, oh, you like a Sophie scarf? Say less. So good to know. So yeah, I had her pick this out actually. She really wanted like a dark stormy blue, she was calling it. And I was like, okay, but it needs to be something that like you are cool with having next to your neck. So I made her rub a bunch of yarn against her neck like a crazy person. And this is what we landed on. This is Mini Alpaca from Sandus Garn in the color 6052. Really nice blue, super soft. Very excited to make this for her. And I love her dearly. Shout out Paisley. You guys are annoyed by my shout-outs that I do across the screen. All I have to say is, I'm sorry I'm full of whimsy and joy. don't know what you want from me. Okay, next up, Mom Look Away. I got this Drops Fable self-striping yarn to make my mom a pair of socks eventually. Was hoping for Christmas. Don't quote me on that, Queen. Don't quote me on that. I'm gonna do my damnedest, though, to make this wonderful woman a pair of socks. I love my mom. So I also got one skein of this dark purple Fable to do like a contrast heel cuff and toe type stitch. So yeah, I'm gonna get to this. I'm gonna get to this because my mom needs a pair of socks, damn it. And she really likes purple, so. And this was like so cheap, okay? I don't wanna like say this too loud because I know she's gonna watch this video and like I don't wanna be like, oh my god, my mom's gift was so cheap. Like I still have to make it, obviously. Like one ball of this was like $2. It was so cheap. So that's amazing. And it's like good sock yarn. It's, what is our content? 75% wool, 25% polymade. That's like every sock yarn ever. So that's amazing. Love it. Next up, I got 13 skeins of this Peer Gynt tweed. I have never seen this particular Peer Gynt tweed, so it's white, and it has rainbow tweed in it, which is like, obviously, I'm really into the rainbow tweed, so I was very excited about this. And guys, this is gonna be my Esther jacket, I think. I really wanted a white Esther jacket, but I also want to stay true to who I am, and that is not a neutral girly. So I feel as though this is a good compromise for us, and yeah, I'm excited about this. It'll have like some visual interest from the tweed while still being kind of neutral leaning, going with a lot of things. I felt it was a good compromise, okay? So I'm excited about this, and yeah, as I said, Santa's Gone was so cheap over there. Okay, one ball of this was like $4 opposed to like $9. And I've never seen this color in America, okay? I would have been losing money. Got 2 skeins of this Drops Flora. This is in the color 28. It's a really cute little bright pink. My idea for this was mittens. They only had the 2 skeins available, so I don't know if I'm gonna have enough to make mittens. Worst case, maybe enough for a hat, or at a minimum, like a cute little headband moment, ear warmer moment even. I realized I have nothing like hot pink that I'd knit, and that's a crime, I think, against humanity. So gonna fix that. This is super soft yarn. This is 65% wool, 35% alpaca. I'm actually really into this, so that's good to know. Drops Flora, kind of major. Keep that in mind. Something to think about. I also got this Drops Fable in this blue. I wanted it, I don't know. I liked this color of blue, and I thought it might be good for a contrast heel, tuff, and toe. Heel, tuff, and co. The heel, cuff, and toe. So I wanted to bring it home with me. It was calling my name. Okay, and then I have 14 skeins again of this Peer Gynt in the colorway That Orange Feeling, and I am copying High Fiber Knits Storm Sweater from last year. Again, rent-free in this little head of mine. I really love this color, and I love the Storm Sweater, and I loved that sweater when High Fiber Knits made it. So I thought, you know what, don't fight what works, my friends. You know, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that sweater certainly ain't broke. 14 skeins of this. Like, this is ridiculous. Can you see this? This is stupid. Oh wait, no, there's more in there. They just look similar. Okay, this is Drops Lima. This is 65% wool, 35 alpaca. Isn't that the same as Flora? Yeah, so this is the same fiber content as Flora, but I think it's a DK weight as opposed to a fingering weight. The more you know. Yeah, I really liked this color. It's kind of like a rustier orange as opposed to That Orange Feeling is like a bright red orange. So I would describe this as more like tomato soupy, and like that more as like pop of color. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 skeins of this because that was all they had. I wanted to get enough for a sweater quantity, but I didn't think that was a possibility. So what am I gonna do with however much yarn this is? 50 grams each. So that's what, like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. That's an amount in grams of yarn. That's a little bit tricky to work with. So I don't really know what I'm gonna do with this, but I just really liked this color a lot. And again, one ball was like $2, so like I would have been losing money. Anyway, this color is 0707, and I rocked with it, and that's all I have to say about it, really. Okay, this is our last little bag, and I kept this one deflated for you to see. So this was about how deflated everything got, and this was the smaller bag, obviously. So the other bags we had bricked, and then this was just kind of what was left over. Yeah, I feel like these vacuum seal bags were a good investment. I'll have them linked. So from that one yarn store with the really sweet owner. She made the blouse #1 light in this yarn held with a mohair, and I fell in love with it. I tried it on, loved it. So I got the yarn to make it in my own colors. So I picked out this really beautiful, it is called Angel Light Lace. It's 80% extra fine merino, 20% silk, and it's from the brand Thelma. I have never heard of this brand of yarn before, but I really rock with it. I'll show you another one of their skeins in a second. So yeah, this is the color I got. All of the colors were so different. And then I got this light pink mohair to hold with it because it has some flecks of light pink in there. I don't know, I thought it was cute. And this mohair is the Lamana Premia. 60% mohair, 40% silk. So it has more silk content than other mohairs, I think. And this is in the color 72. It's like the perfect little ballerina baby pink. And I just thought it was really pretty. And I really liked that blouse #1. I tried it on and it was really like, oh, it was just beautiful. So excited about that at some point this winter. And then last but not least is another skein from that Thelma brand. This is their mulberry silk. So it is 100% mulberry silk, and the owner had a sample of this knitted up, and it was the softest thing I've ever felt in my life. It was like this open, like airy layering tank top thing. It was so, I was holding it and it felt like nothing was in my hands, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? And then she took me over there. They had this color and another color that I was really torn between for some minutes. Eventually, with the help of dear friend Paisley, we landed on this beautiful purple. And I just like, I want to be like mummified in this, I think. I don't know. It's just like that soft. Like I want to be cocooned in this for the rest of my life. It's stunning. So I'm very excited to knit something up in this. I know it's going to be rather slippery to knit with, but end result, so worth it. So worth it. Yeah, this and this were definitely my two like splurge skeins of the trip. These two were definitely the most expensive, but like it's a smaller designer or smaller yarn dyer, and just like, I don't know, I really rocked with them and I deserve a little treat. So, and so do you. Actually, if you're watching this, you deserve a little treat as well for being here for so long and listening to me talk for this long. Yeah, that's the yarn I brought back from my trip. And those were some of the yarn stores I went to, and it's really nice to talk to you guys again. I have missed making videos, and I'm glad to be home and like settled into working full-time now. I'm full-time now, a nanny still. And yeah, so it's nice to be like finally figuring out my routine and my schedule. I start work really early, so that's kind of brutal, but it's okay. So I'm excited to figure out my schedule a little bit more and figure out like when I can work filming in more regularly. So thank you for bearing with me through these random breaks of not filming, and thank you for bearing with me through my rebranding. And hopefully by, if not the next video, the video after that will be like completely rebranded and everything. So thank you for bearing with me. Basically, it's just what I wanted to say. And I appreciate you sticking around this long. If you have made it this far, you get a gold star. You know the drill. My boyfriend's causing all sorts of a ruckus out in the kitchen. Oh my god, my sourdough. Guys, I need to go check on my sourdough, okay? So, thank you so much for being here. I love you. I don't know, if you have any more like Copenhagen yarn stores that I didn't go to that you love, leave them in the comments. Subscribe, maybe, if you could. It would be cool if you did. Thank you for being here, and I hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening, day, night, whatever, wherever you are, and I hope I see you in my next video. This is post-filming. Oh, God.